the Online Entrepreneur Motivation Series, discussing ideas, strategies, and mindsets to help online entrepreneurs become more successful. In today's presentation, we're going to talk about business development and why it's important to develop your business, and more specifically, the things you need to be focusing on in order to successfully build your business. Now, the first thing you need to realize is when it comes to success in online business, or really any business for that matter, there are just a few things that you need to do well. And in some cases, you could even get away with just doing one thing really well. And this is a problem for a lot of new entrepreneurs, or a lot of people in general who want to break into business, and they believe that they have to be all things to all people. When you start breaking it down, you start looking at the most successful entrepreneurs, the most successful companies. They were built upon the idea of specialization and the idea of becoming really, really good at providing one thing really, really well. And so you have to begin to ask yourself, as an online entrepreneur, what is it that makes me unique? What are the skills and practices that I bring to the table that people are going to pay me for? What do I do better than most other people? And what's a craft or what's a skill that I can hone and get even better at so I can get paid even more as I go along? And it's very important that you have this discussion with yourself early and often, because it's very easy as business grows and as things get busier and as your schedule becomes more and more hectic for you to divert your attention in a million different directions. So the thing here is to remind you, focus on doing a few things well, or even just one thing well. Maybe you're a great presenter or speaker. Maybe you're great at programming. Maybe you have a knack for doing negotiations and putting teams together, or brokering deals between two different companies. It's really up to you to figure out what that special skill is that you bring to the table, and then just work on doing it really, really well and improving it all the time. Now that brings us to our second point here, which is how do you get even better at what you're already good at? We kind of already talked about this. When you focus on the things that you do naturally well, the things that you want to be paid for in your business. Now, you're creating the level of specialization that people want to pay you for, and then you begin to ask this question, how do I get even better at what I'm already good at? What you're really saying when you ask this question is, how do I increase my capacity to get paid even more for this skill that I'm already naturally good at and that I'm already broadcasting myself as an expert in, and people are already coming to me for help. And maybe you're already getting paid good money to do whatever it is. How do you take it even further? How do you expand that skill and become even better at it? And then in turn, increasing the amount of money, the amount of revenue that you can generate through this skill. And it may seem counterintuitive that as you go deeper into one thing, there'll be, you might think there'll be less and less for me to do here, but actually it's the opposite. The more you focus on one particular skill, the more opportunity you see to grow and expand within inside of that skill. So again, going back to my example of presenting and speaking, once you get really, really good at one form of speaking, maybe you're a platform speaker and you're hired to speak at conferences, well, now you've perfected the art of speaking. You know how to connect with your audience. You know that you can keep people's attention and maybe even motivate them to action. Now you have all kinds of opportunities to take this to the webinar world or the online presentation world, or to become a presentation coach and teach other presenters how to do what you do. You get the idea. As you get better at what you're already good at, you'll increase your capacity to make more money. Here's another really important thing about business development, and it's the ability for you to separate business and emotion. And this is where a lot of entrepreneurs, especially newbie entrepreneurs, fall flat, because money gets involved and a lot of emotion can get involved when money gets involved into the equation. And it's very important for you to look at every situation. Maybe you're dealing with a customer who's just treating you disrespectfully, or maybe you're dealing with a partner or a former partner, or maybe you're working with outsourcers to provide you with some content or to provide you with some kind of material for your business. And they become an abrasive personality, or they're a kind of personality that you just don't get along with well naturally. It's very easy to become wrapped up emotionally, whether you feel like you've been ripped off for something you paid for, or whether you think you've been slighted by them in a respect fashion. You don't feel like they're respecting you. Base everything on making a decision that's effective for the business. Your job is to make sure your business stays alive. And separating your emotion from the business is very easy to do when you look at your business in this way. So if it comes time to let somebody go because they're not a good fit, you can strictly focus on, this is a business decision, and my business is going to die if I don't make this decision. It's very easy to remove your emotion from it when you separate yourself from the business. Your job is to keep the business alive, and the more you let emotions come into the equation, the less effective you will be at making those often difficult decisions that will keep your business afloat. Here's another thing. The best business people are lifelong students. If you look at any successful entrepreneur, even the most celebrated people in the world right now that you might be reading biographies about, take a look at their daily regimen, their daily routine, and they are always learning. They're always studying. They're always pushing themselves. Often the most successful people you can read about are the most driven. These are the people getting up at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning and working all hours of the day. And I'm not suggesting that you have to work nonstop to be successful, but they're addicted to the growth. They're addicted to becoming students of their craft and to becoming better at what they already do well. And they never ever allow themselves to kind of rest on their laurels or to look at things they've done in the past and say, I've already achieved X level, my maximum level of success. I'm done now. They're always looking to expand. They're students, and when they feel like they've mastered something, they go into another area that can already expand what they're doing well, and they become a brand new student in that area. And they enjoy the process of learning. They enjoy the process of breaking down something they don't know how to do yet, going through the initial awkward phases of kind of figuring out how this whole thing works, building up proficiency, and then they thrive on the idea of mastering something new that they haven't been able to do before. And you need to be able to think that way in all areas of your business. So if there's something you've mastered and it's time to move on, what is another area of your business that you can now master that will make you more profitable? Next, you need to be able to find repeatable processes and systems. It's very easy to think of one project that you want to launch, and that makes you some money, and then you put it away and go on to something else. And each and every time, you're inventing the process. You're starting from scratch. You need to begin to ask yourself, how can I leverage the actions I'm taking, the things I'm doing in each project, each revenue generating project? And how can I template these things? How can I write a system or a checklist so that I can repeat a lot of the things that created success in the first place? So as an example, let's say you're an author or you create a product of some sort and people are buying your work and you get questions. And maybe the questions come in and a lot of them are the same type of question. Maybe they fall into 3 different categories, but for the most part, there are 3 categories of questions. And you can anticipate that these same questions are going to come again in the future. Well, now you can create templated answers anticipating when these questions are going to be asked again in the future. And instead of having you or your support team or whoever's responsible for answering these questions type out those answers again, you can have templates created, or even as an example, create an FAQ section. And now you've got something that's already done for you. It's already completely systemized. So when this action takes place, your company is set up to automatically handle that action and move on. And it doesn't interrupt what you're currently doing, the growth that you're currently working on. And the more you do this, the more you find processes and systemize things that you're already doing, the greater the asset base you build in your business and the more money you're going to be able to make because you're handling more things. The more you can handle, the more money you can make. So always be on the lookout for things that you're doing that are of a repetitive nature that you can systemize or put into some template of some sort. Finally, building your network. When it comes to business development, it's impossible to develop your business and to become successful as an entrepreneur if you're not expanding your network. But the problem is a lot of people do it the wrong way. They go into these online social networks like LinkedIn and they just start asking for people to help them. Or they go to a live event and they talk all about themselves. The key to building your network is to reach out and connect with other people. And the best way to do that is to meet people for the sake of meeting them and take interest in who they are in their lives, not just what they do for work, but in their personal lives, where they live, how many kids they have, where they grew up, some of the things they do outside of business. Some of the projects they may be working on that have nothing to do with making money. You can connect with people at all different kinds of levels. I've talked to a number of different entrepreneurs. Some of their best partners, some of the best people in their network are people they connected with outside of business. Maybe they played on the same sports team together, or maybe they were interested in the same kind of hobby. And meeting at that level, they had a common connection, a common bond. And then it just so happened that the business connections flowed naturally out of that. When you go into a networking event or to a networking situation with the goal and the determination that I just got to build my network and I have to find as many people who can help me make more money as possible, you're doing it the wrong way, and you're actually going to repel people. They're not going to be interested in talking to you because they'll see that you're only in this for the business side of it. You're only in it to make contacts, to maybe grow your prospect list, and there's nothing they're really going to gain from it intellectually or even in a relationship capacity. So always think of meeting people for the sake of meeting them, and then just let it flow naturally from there. You'll be amazed at the amount of connections you'll make, even with just one good relationship. So treat those relationships really well, and build your network tactfully, focusing on the person first. If you do that well, and you do everything that we've talked about in this presentation, then your business development is on the right path for success. So let's quickly talk about some business development exercises that you can put into play right now. First, list 3 money-making skills that bring in money on a regular basis and brainstorm how you can strengthen them. I mean, you're already doing well with these. They're already making you money. They're bringing revenue into your business. How can you take that further? What can you do to enhance the skill? What can you do to find more customers who will pay for that skill? Think of all the different ways that you can transform this into even more opportunity for your business. Then list 3 money-draining tasks. These are tasks that actually cost your business, things that you're doing on a regular basis that are preventing you from spending time on those other 3 that are making you the money, and brainstorm ways that you can remove them, either through systemizing, through delegating, through outsourcing, hiring, removing them altogether in some cases, but sit down and think of them at a detailed level so that you can remove them. Doing these 2 tasks will be hugely transformational to your business development.